One of the things that a lot of business owners have a problem with is writing down a position description for their employees, because partly that's because when they hired the employees in the beginning, when they didn't necessarily follow a good plan on how to hire them. You really should have a position description created before you hire an employee. But if you don't, that's okay. There's steps you can take and there's ways to do it, and you can do it very easily. So what I recommend is the very first step is have the employer write a list of the top 10 tasks they want the person in that position to do, and then have the person that's already sitting in that position write that same list of the top 10 tasks. And it doesn't have to be 10, it could be 5, it could be 20, the top tasks that have to be done by the person in that position. And don't look at each other's yet. Write those independently. Then compare them. You'll find that there's almost never going to be, they're never going to be the same. But there's two parts to this. One, the owner obviously has to have input into what gets done in a position, but the person that's already in the position has some very important tactical first-hand knowledge about how to do these tasks and what is important and things like that. And you have to take the viewpoint of both, especially if you want to have buy-in from both. The fastest way to lose a good employee is to wind up have the owner come up, build a position description and say, okay, your job is now this. And the employee says, sorry about that. The employee says, that's not what I was hired to do, and I don't want to do that. But if you have the two people working together to build those lists independently, then you'll have buy-in, and then talk about them. Talk about the differences. Why is it different? Because sometimes the viewpoint of the owner is going to have to take away. It's like, yeah, I know this other thing is important, but the phone needs to be answered every time. And so even though that's important, you need to interrupt that if the phone rings, as an example. Every job description is going to have a different example, of course. So compare the two notes, compare the two lists, work out together what the prioritized lists are. And it'll usually come out something like, there are 4 or 5 things that absolutely need to be done, period. Because the business or the customers or the value that's delivered to the customer depends on those 4 or 5 things. Then there's going to be some other things that are going to be perhaps administrative in nature, that they need to be done, but they don't necessarily need to be done that day, maybe. If you follow some of the Franklin Covey concepts of time management, putting your big rocks first, follow that by the little rocks, and then the pebbles, and then the sand. And at the end, you can still pour in a lot of water, but if you try to do that in reverse, nothing fits. Nothing does. So you have the big rocks. Those next list of priorities are going to be the equivalent of the pebbles or the sand. It's like, okay, these are the things that they still need to be done. The timeliness is a little bit different. We have some leeway. And then there's going to be the nice to haves at the bottom, the water, the figurative water that gets poured in. It's like, okay, perhaps, at the end, if you're caught up with everything else, maybe it's time to watch some professional development videos. Better to make yourself better for yourself and for us as a company, than it is to just sit and wait for the next task to arrive. So those are the fillers in betweens, if you will. And then write that description, and everybody has buy-in to it. And the employee that's already sitting in that position to say, yeah, I can do this. I think this is a great way to move forward.